The first rays of dawn touched the skyline of New York City as Morning Light with Olivia Grant went live. Olivia, a 32-year-old television host admired for her bold and heartfelt interviews, had no idea this would become the most emotional broadcast of her career. That morning's guest was none other than President Donald J. Trump. The studio buzzed with anticipation. Cameramen double-checked their angles. Producers whispered directions through earpieces, and Olivia nervously shuffled her cue cards. She had spoken to countless world leaders before, but Trump was different, unpredictable, outspoken, and capable of turning any interview into something unforgettable. As the countdown reached 0, the red on-air light flickered to life. "Good morning, America," Olivia began with her trademark smile. "Today we're joined by a very special guest." Trump walked in to thunderous applause, shaking Olivia's hand warmly. "Thank you, Olivia," he said, glancing around. "Beautiful show you've got here." The interview started smoothly. Discussions about the economy, veterans, and small business recovery flowed easily. But Trump seemed unusually reflective, even distant, as if something deeper was on his mind. Then, just before a commercial break, he looked at Olivia and said softly, "You know, there's something I've wanted to say on live television for a long time, and it has to do with you." Olivia blinked in surprise. The control room fell silent. The teleprompter froze. Whatever he was about to reveal wasn't in the script. When the cameras cut to commercial, Olivia turned to him, laughing nervously. "Mr. President, what did you mean by that?" Trump smiled faintly. "Let's save it for when we're back on air. It'll mean more that way." Producers frantically debated whether to steer the show back to safer topics, but Olivia nodded to continue. Her hands trembled slightly as the cameras went live again. "Before the break," she said cautiously, "you mentioned something personal. Would you like to share it?" Trump leaned back in his chair. "I would, Olivia. But before I do, let me tell you something. I've met many journalists, some tough, some kind, some who just love to hear themselves talk. But you remind me of someone." The studio went still. "Who?" Olivia asked, curiosity overtaking professionalism. Trump's gaze softened as he looked directly into the camera. "A woman I met many years ago. Someone who showed remarkable kindness to a stranger. I believe that woman was your mother." Olivia froze. My mother?" Trump nodded slowly. "Yes, decades ago." Gasps rippled through the audience. Even the crew stood motionless. "It was a cold night in Queens," Trump continued, his voice quieter now. "Long before politics, before fame, my car had broken down near a small diner. Frustrated, I went inside, just wanting coffee and silence. The place was empty, except for a tired young waitress who smiled at me anyway. She brought me coffee, refused my tip, and said, 'You look like you've had a long day, sir. Sometimes all people need is kindness.'" He paused, his tone turning wistful. "That waitress was your mother, Olivia Grant." Olivia covered her mouth, eyes wide. "That can't be. She used to tell me about serving strangers at the diner on Queens Boulevard." "That's the one," Trump said, nodding. "She told me she was saving for her daughter's education. She worked 2 jobs, never complained, and said something I never forgot. Real success isn't what you build, it's who you lift." The entire studio went silent. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes. Her mother had passed away 8 years earlier. Trump continued softly, "I've carried that moment with me ever since. She changed the way I saw people, and I've always felt I owed her, and you, a debt of gratitude." Olivia struggled to speak. You actually met my mom?" Trump nodded. "She made me rethink my values. I was obsessed with building things, but she reminded me of the people behind them." "She would have been so proud to know you remembered her," Olivia whispered. Trump smiled gently. "She didn't just serve me coffee, Olivia. She served wisdom. Her words inspired me later in life, especially when I started supporting community kitchens and veteran programs. That all began because of her." Tears streamed down Olivia's cheeks. Around her, audience members wiped their eyes in silence. Trump went on, "Before she passed, she left something for you, didn't she?" Olivia nodded. "Yes, a small wooden box. She told me, 'You'll know when it's time.' But I've never opened it." Trump met her gaze. I think that time is now. The broadcast split-screened, Olivia trembling with emotion on one side, Trump composed yet visibly moved on the other. Your mother's kindness didn't just change my night, Trump said quietly. It changed the path of a man who would one day have the power to change others' lives. And today I want to return that kindness. He reached beneath the table and lifted a small velvet box. I've kept this for over 3 decades, he said. Olivia's breath caught. When your mother served me that night, she refused payment. Instead, she said, if you ever want to thank me, help someone who reminds you of your younger self. Trump opened the box. Inside was a small gold pin shaped like a dove, slightly tarnished, but glistening under the studio lights. She wore this on her apron, Trump explained. She accidentally left it behind that night. I kept it, hoping one day I'd find her, the audience gasped. Olivia began to cry openly. That pin? She wore it every day. Trump gently placed it in her hand. It belongs to you now. For a long, breathless moment, no one spoke. Then the crowd erupted into soft applause, breaking the silence. But that's not all, Trump continued. I didn't come here just to return a keepsake. I came to finish what your mother started. Olivia looked up through tears. What do you mean? Trump smiled. I've created a scholarship in her name, the Olivia Grant Foundation, to help young women chasing their dreams in journalism. The studio erupted in applause. Viewers across the country paused their morning routines, watching in awe. A foundation in her name? Olivia asked, her voice trembling. Yes, Trump confirmed. It will offer full scholarships to women who want to use their voices for truth and compassion. Just like you do. As the applause grew louder, Trump added softly, when your mother said, lift others, I didn't realize she meant it literally. She lifted me when I was too proud to admit I needed kindness. Olivia wiped her tears. She never told me that story. She just said, be kind even when no one's watching. Trump nodded. She didn't just watch, Olivia. She inspired. As the lights shimmered across the studio, Olivia stared down at the gold dove pin resting in her palm. It felt as though her mother were right there beside her. When the broadcast ended, the entire crew stood and applauded. Even the camera operators had tears in their eyes. Backstage, phones rang nonstop, people calling to donate, to thank, and to share their own stories of kindness that changed their lives. That morning, Morning Light with Olivia Grant wasn't just another political broadcast. It became the spark of a nationwide movement rooted in gratitude and compassion. As the cameras went dark, Olivia sat silently in her chair, still absorbing what had just unfolded. President Trump placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. She'd be proud of you, Olivia, he said softly. You've carried her legacy without even realizing it. Tears filled Olivia's eyes. I never thought my work meant anything beyond the studio, she whispered. But now, it all feels connected. Trump nodded thoughtfully. That's the thing about kindness. It never fades. It travels. Before leaving, he handed her a sealed envelope. This is for you, he said. Don't open it yet. Wait until you're alone. After he departed, escorted by the Secret Service, Olivia remained seated, staring at the envelope that suddenly felt heavy with meaning. Her producer, Mark, approached quietly. Olivia, that was the most powerful interview I've ever seen. You just made history. But Olivia wasn't thinking about ratings or fame. Her thoughts drifted to her mother, the scent of coffee in the old diner, the warmth of her laughter, and the comforting feeling that maybe, somehow, she'd never really left. As the studio lights dimmed, Olivia whispered, Thank you, Mom. That evening, in her apartment overlooking the glowing city, she finally opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dear Olivia, your mother once told me that dreams don't die. They simply wait for the right person to carry them forward. You are that person. Use your voice to give others hope. And remember, compassion is power. Enclosed is something to help you continue her mission. Donald J. Trump. Another paper slipped out. A document confirming a $250,000 donation made in Olivia's name to establish the Olivia Grant Foundation. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the final item, a personal check made out to her. At the bottom, in Trump's handwriting, were the words, to tell stories that heal hearts, not just fill airtime. Olivia pressed the letter to her chest, tears falling freely. She realized this wasn't about money, it was about purpose. From that moment, her work would no longer chase headlines, it would chase humanity. By the next morning, every major network was talking about the interview. Olivia Grant Foundation trended worldwide. People from all walks of life, teachers, nurses, veterans, janitors, began sharing their own stories of kindness. Olivia's inbox overflowed with letters. One read, "Your mother once helped my father at that same diner. She gave him food when he couldn't pay." Another said, "Your story reminded me to call my mom today." Trump's team released a statement confirming the foundation's creation. Kindness has no political party. For the first time in years, social media wasn't divided. It was united in empathy. Olivia appeared on countless talk shows, but always redirected the spotlight. "This isn't about me," she'd insist. "It's about remembering that one act of kindness can ripple across generations." A week later, Olivia visited the small diner in Queens where her mother once worked. It had new owners now, but the same faded red booths remained. She chose a seat by the window, her mother's favorite spot. An elderly waitress approached, smiling warmly. "You must be Eleanor's daughter. We saw you on TV. She was a good woman." "The best," Olivia replied softly. The woman handed her an old framed photo of Eleanor standing behind the counter, proudly wearing the same dove pin. "She always said this diner was where real dreams were born," the waitress said. Before leaving, Olivia placed a small note on the counter. "For the coffee she never charged for, thank you." As she stepped outside, the afternoon sunlight bathed her face, and for the first time, she fully understood her mother's lesson. Kindness isn't about what you give back. It's about what you leave behind. 2 weeks later, Olivia was in her studio when her phone rang. The caller ID read, "White House Press Office." Her heart skipped a beat. She answered carefully. "This is Olivia," a familiar voice replied. "Olivia, it's Donald. I hope I'm not interrupting your show." "Mr. President." "Of course not," she said, smiling. "I wanted to personally invite you to the Foundation's launch ceremony next week. It'll be held in Washington. I believe your mother deserves to have her story shared in the heart of the nation she inspired." Olivia was speechless. "That would mean so much to me." Trump's tone softened. "Also, there's someone I think you should meet. Someone who knew your mother even better than I did." "Who?" she asked, puzzled. He chuckled. "Let's call it another surprise." When the call ended, Olivia sat quietly, her heart full of curiosity. Her mother had always been humble, never one to boast or seek attention. But now Olivia realized there was so much she didn't know, layers of quiet heroism hidden in her mother's story. Over the next week, Olivia prepared not as a host, but as a daughter, ready to rediscover her mother's legacy. The grand ballroom in Washington was filled with journalists, students, and community leaders. A massive banner read, "The Olivia Grant Foundation, Empowering Voices of Kindness." Olivia entered wearing a soft blue dress, her mother's favorite color. Trump greeted her warmly at the entrance. "You look wonderful, Olivia. Your mom would be proud." "Thank you, Mr. President," she said, still overwhelmed. He smiled. "No more Mr. President. Today I'm just Donald, a man keeping a promise." As the ceremony began, Trump took the stage. "30 years ago," he began, "a waitress at a small diner taught me the power of kindness. Today, that kindness comes full circle." He invited Olivia to join him. The audience rose in applause as she stood beside him, clutching her mother's gold dove pin. Trump smiled at her and continued. Eleanor's daughter didn't just follow in her footsteps, she lit her own path, guiding millions through honesty and heart. Tears shimmered in Olivia's eyes. "I never imagined my mother's story would reach so many." Trump nodded. "That's what true kindness does. It never stops moving." It traveled farther than anyone ever imagined. Then, with a gentle tone, Trump said, "Olivia, there's someone who's been waiting a long time to meet you." He stepped aside, revealing an elderly man in a wheelchair being guided onto the stage. His face carried years of weariness, but his eyes glistened with emotion. "Olivia," Trump continued, "this is Michael Sanders. Your mother once saved his life." Olivia froze. "Saved his life?" she whispered in disbelief. Michael nodded slowly. "Yes. Years ago, I was a homeless veteran, hungry, lost, forgotten. One night, your mother found me behind the diner. She didn't call the police or turn me away. She fed me, gave me her late husband's coat, and found me a place to stay." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes as he went on. "Before she left, she told me, 'When you get back on your feet, promise me you'll help someone else.' And I did. I started a small shelter for veterans and families. I called it Eleanor's Haven." The audience broke into heartfelt applause. Trump smiled proudly. "And now," he said, "Eleanor's Haven will become part of this new foundation, helping even more people in need." Olivia covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Her mother's quiet compassion had changed lives long before the world ever knew her name. After the applause faded, Trump turned to her. "Would you like to say something?" Olivia hesitated, then took the microphone. "My mother taught me that kindness doesn't need an audience to matter," she began softly. "For years, I thought no one noticed what she did. I was wrong. Her actions planted seeds that grew long after she was gone." She looked at Trump and smiled. "Mr. President, thank you for honoring her. But she would have wanted this to be about everyone here. The small acts of kindness that don't make headlines but change hearts." The room fell silent in agreement. "She used to say," Olivia continued, "you can't always change the world, but you can change someone's world." That's what she did for Mr. Sanders, and maybe even for you. Trump nodded, smiling warmly. "And if we all did even a fraction of what she did," Olivia concluded, "maybe the world wouldn't feel so divided today." The audience rose to their feet in thunderous applause. That night, the speech went viral across the country. Millions watched, cried, and shared the story. The Olivia Grant Foundation had just begun, yet its message was already spreading like light through darkness. After the ceremony, Olivia slipped out to the quiet garden behind the venue. The night air was cool, and the stars shimmered faintly over Washington, D.C. She held her mother's dove pin tightly. "You really did it, Mom," she whispered. Trump joined her quietly. "You handled that beautifully," he said. "I just said what she would have said," Olivia replied. He nodded. "The world needs more people like her, and like you. Too many think leadership is about power, but your mother showed me it's about heart." They stood in silence, the moment heavy with meaning. "Before I leave office," Trump said softly, "I plan to honor ordinary Americans like your mother, people who make extraordinary differences without ever asking for recognition." Olivia smiled through tears. She would have loved that. Trump returned the smile. She already started it. When he left, Olivia remained beneath the stars, feeling a warmth in her chest, a quiet voice whispering, "Keep going." Months passed. The Olivia Grant Foundation began offering scholarships across the nation. Dozens of young women received support to study journalism and storytelling with empathy. Olivia launched a new segment called Stories of Kindness, sharing true tales of everyday heroes, teachers buying meals for students, police rescuing animals, strangers helping strangers, ratings soared. But Olivia no longer cared about numbers. She cared about impact. Trump would call occasionally to check in. "How's our foundation doing?" "It's not just growing," Olivia would reply. "It's transforming lives." At one event, a scholarship student said, "Because of this program, I found my voice. I want to tell stories that heal." That night, alone in the newsroom, Olivia gazed at her reflection and finally understood what her mother meant. It's not about being seen. It's about seeing others. One morning, a handwritten letter arrived addressed to Morning Light Studio. "Dear Olivia, I was one of the students who received the Olivia Grant Scholarship. My mother passed away last year, and I thought I'd lost my way. But your mother's story reminded me that love doesn't end. It continues through action. Thank you for reminding the world that kindness still matters. Emily Rhodes, journalism major, University of Chicago." Olivia placed the letter beside her mother's photo. "Another life you've touched, Mom," she whispered. She posted it online. And once again, it went viral. Letters poured in from across the country. Some contained small donations. Others shared personal stories of hope and reconnection. What began as one simple interview had become a movement, a reminder that hope often starts in the quietest hearts. A year later, on the Foundation's anniversary, Olivia returned to the old diner, now beautifully restored and renamed Eleanor's Table. The owner greeted her warmly. "You've turned this place into a legend," he said. "It wasn't me," Olivia smiled. "It was her." A young waitress approached shyly. I'm one of the scholarship recipients," she said. "I study journalism because of your mom's story. I work here part-time, just like she did." Olivia's eyes softened. "Then you're already walking in her footsteps." That night, Olivia realized something profound. Her mother's story no longer belonged only to her. It belonged to everyone who believed in kindness, in second chances, in lifting others up. Exactly 1 year after the original interview with Trump, Olivia opened her show with a special broadcast. "Today marks 1 year since a simple act of kindness connected generations," she began. "What started as one interview became a foundation, a movement, and a reminder that goodness still exists in this world." Behind her, a montage played, Trump handing her the dove pin, veterans thanking her, scholarship recipients smiling. She looked into the camera. "You don't have to be powerful to change lives. My mother wasn't rich or famous. She was a waitress with a kind heart. And that was enough." She held up the dove pin. "This is for everyone who carries kindness quietly. The world sees you." As the screen faded to black, her voice lingered. "Kindness never dies. It multiplies." Months later, Olivia attended a memorial at Arlington Cemetery honoring unsung heroes. Trump was there, older, walking slower but still dignified. "Olivia," he asked softly, "do you ever wonder what your mom would say if she saw all this?" Olivia smiled through tears. "She'd probably say, 'Now go help someone else.'" Trump chuckled. "That sounds just like her." As they turned to leave, Olivia removed the dove pin from her jacket and placed it gently on a bouquet at the memorial's base. "She gave it to me," she whispered, "but it was never meant to stay with me. It belongs here, with everyone who chooses kindness." Trump nodded, deeply moved. That evening, the story of Olivia Grant, the waitress who changed a president's heart, aired nationwide once again. And somewhere above, under the quiet stars, it felt as if Eleanor herself was smiling, because her message had finally reached the world. Kindness outlives us all.